Welcome back to the Bill and Doug Show. Doug Lesmerises and Bill Landis on a Tuesday night live. College football playoff rankings coming up soon, Bill. We'll run through them again. 2 weekends left in the regular season and starting to really matter. And then we'll give our, as we always do on this show, our actual predictions for what we think the playoff will be at the end of the year. But we're going to let the rankings speak to us a little bit tonight, because you were even saying, like, at this point, we're trying to get it right. We don't know what the committee is going to do with some of these teams that are going to be moving around, especially with the Oklahoma winner over Alabama.
Yeah, I don't, because there's certain teams that are like roadblocks, or like how far a team can fall and stuff like that. And so I did make like my own before we got the rankings, but I would rather let them tell me sort of how they're going to stack Alabama, Oklahoma, Ole Miss. I'm assuming Georgia's going to move up, probably into the top 4, but we'll see. So yeah, I'd rather see that happen than take a wild stab, because we are, as you said, trying to get this right. And that's really the only thing that matters in all this, is whether or not we're right.
Oh, yeah. No, I really care about that. My TV is no longer a black screen. I can also watch the actual rankings reveal. I kind of don't like it. I just sort of figured out that my life was okay without ESPN. Can I voluntarily do this? Can they have another carriage dispute? Give me $20 a month and I won't watch ESPN. Is that a thing that I can call YouTube TV and tell them?
It's probably too late. They probably would have appreciated that before, if they paid whatever they had to pay the mouse to get ESPN back on their streaming service.
Yeah. So we have a bunch of good folks in here hanging out. Lisa's here, and Chris is here, and Rob is here, and our good friend John is here, and another John is here, and we're excited to have everybody here. I have a suggestion for the rankings. The great Nicole Auerbach, one of the leading voices in college football media, I guess it was last week, or was writing, talking about the idea of why do we need all these shows? Why do we need weekly rankings? And I don't know the specificity of her suggestion, but I still think that the first rankings are good, because they allow us at some point, besides once the season's over, to see the committee's thinking. But Bill, if they said we're going to do the first one and then we're out and then we'll see you for the real ones, would you be okay with that?
I probably would want one more if we're going to go. So we go, what was it, 5 weeks, I think, between the first ones we get and then the ones that matter, the final ones. I wouldn't mind like a mid-November check-in, I guess. I don't know that we need to do it every week, but then that also raises the question of what number do we put beside a team's name, like sort of in the interim between getting refreshed playoff rankings. So we go back to the AP poll. Do we just keep using the AP poll? Like, what do you want to do?
I got a plan for you, brother.
Okay.
What do they want on Tuesday nights? Do they really want us to get a deep dive into the minds of these however many committee members there are who aren't getting suspended for stuff? I guess they're back to 12 now. Is that what they really want? We want you, because they can't even explain themselves. When they come out and explain it, they make stuff up, right? Are they looking for a deep dive into the minds of the committee, or do they just want to talk about college football during halftime of a basketball game for 25 minutes?
Yeah,
I think they mostly want the TV show, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
What is, how relevant do you find the AP poll to be once the college football playoff rankings come out?
Totally irrelevant. Not irrelevant at all. Not relevant.
Not very relevant. All right, yeah. I got a plan for you. Do the first rankings for the committee. Do the last rankings for the committee. The rest of the time, don't reveal the AP poll until Tuesday night, and then let everybody talk about the AP poll for 25 minutes. And the AP poll instructions are to think like the committee, rank the 25 best teams, but make it a reveal. The AP poll falls in line with the committee anyway once the committee rankings come out, and you tell these AP voters how they're supposed to be thinking. We keep the TV show. We add relevance to an AP poll that has no relevance once the committee rankings start, but we don't have the committee boxing themselves in with rankings every week. I think it's a win-win for everybody.
And you make like the Tampa Bay Times South Florida beat writer come on ESPN and explain why Oklahoma's 13th, or you just leave that part out of the TV show?
What? It's a win for the Tampa Bay Times South Florida beat writer as well. What exposure. They put me on ESPN on game day one time for the way that I voted. I had to wear a suit and stand in the rain with the umbrella. It was the highlight of my career. No, it wasn't. But in the moment, I thought it might have been, right? Like, but if we wanted discussion, And then we can talk about theoretically, well, do we think the committee would follow what the AP does? But it would give us rankings that matter without this game that we're playing where we're trying to like read between the lines with the college football playoff committee chairperson who is in there talking about interior offensive line play because he's trying to sound smart and nobody wants it.
What if they just gave us the rankings without that? Like, what if they just didn't bring the committee chair on ESPN to try to explain something that is nearly impossible to explain?
If we're getting real committee rankings, do we want an explanation? And I guess the question is, if we don't want them, why don't we want them? If we don't want 5 weeks of committee rankings, is it because we find their explanations ridiculous? Or do we not want them because they serve no purpose and all they do is maybe box them into decisions that they wouldn't make otherwise if they weren't doing these meaningless rankings? Like, if we don't want them, why don't we want them?
I think that from what I've gathered, and again, I don't mind having them every week. I think what people who say we don't need them every week usually are just saying so out of frustration towards the way that people talk about them once they're revealed, right?
Yeah.
That's like the thing I like whatever, that the AP poll has problems. Clearly, we've talked about it a lot, but at least we're not subjected to a 30-minute conversation every week where no one makes any sense about why they are the way they are. So I think that's more of what it is. Cause like, it's not like we don't have enough information to reset the rankings every week. We do. So I'm fine with then refreshing them every week. And I think everybody would probably be made to feel a lot better if they didn't trot some AD out there whose job is to summarize the thoughts of 13 people into 30-second sound bites, which is really hard to do.
Yeah. A lot of people don't like the AP poll. The biggest problem with the AP poll is that people are required to vote by noon on Sunday when they're dead tired. They've covered their team they covered the night before, and they have no time to think or process. Also, waiting until Tuesday night when you revealed the AP poll would make the AP poll better and smarter.
That's true.
And I don't think it's much less a problem of the people in the AP poll and much more a problem of the time constraints that the AP poll puts on their voters for no reason. And the AP poll, if I'm trying to get the AP poll and I'm trying to get the AP poll, why just put it out at noon on Monday? But they don't want to do it because this is how they did it in 1964, right? It's silly. But if you told them you get a reveal on ESPN, I think they maybe would do it. All right, rankings are coming out. I'm still going to let you say them because, why you're good at saying them. You're a good announcer for the rankings.
All right, they're releasing them in batches this time. 25, Arizona State. 24, Tulane. 23, Houston. 22, Missouri, back in, baby. And 21 is Illinois. Those are all new teams because everybody from 20 to 25 lost last week. Tennessee is number 20. Virginia is number 19.
Okay.
Michigan Wolverines are number 18. Texas plummets to 17. And Georgia Tech is 16.
Okay. Michigan behind Texas. Michigan lost to Oklahoma. Texas beat Oklahoma, but also like they're ignoring some other head-to-heads. We are going to talk about the Notre Dame Miami head-to-head thing. I think people realize this, and the rankings are going to show us this in a minute. Of course, there probably is going to be an upset or two from what the betting lines would tell you or what we would expect. It's fairly straightforward if there aren't any upsets. And if there aren't any upsets, the Miami Notre Dame discussion is going to come into full effect.
I think so too. Because we talked about how much that gap closed already last week. 15 USC. Now they're revealing them slower. By the way, last week's rankings. Number 20 Louisville lost. Number 21 Iowa lost. Number 22 Pitt lost. Number 24 USF lost, and number 25 Cincinnati lost. So like the bottom of the rankings got totally reworked in a way that might impact the top.
Interesting. It does matter a little bit. Mizzou, Oklahoma has Mizzou this week, right? So that's like another potentially like ranked win for Oklahoma.
Yeah. Vanderbilt is 14. So they dropped Texas behind Vanderbilt. I thought they weren't going to do that. I thought that Vanderbilt was going to be like another buffer as far as Texas can go. So then Miami's
but Texas
up 2
has
spots.
one more loss. Texas has one more loss than Vanderbilt does, even though
they do.
Texas beat Vanderbilt head to head. Okay, so Miami is up. Miami is at 13, and that's up 2 spots.
Yeah. So what was Miami? What was Was it 17, 15, and now 13?
Okay. Like they have a little arrow on the screen. Hey,
Yeah.
they have a little arrow up 2 spots. Yeah, so really, if what it's going to come down to, if things go as expected, is probably a Notre Dame, Miami, Vanderbilt discussion for the last spot potentially. And I guess maybe you could throw Utah in there, and Utah is ahead of all of them. So, well, not ahead of Notre Dame, but like that's one of those. So, okay.
Yeah, Utah. Yeah, Utah's 12. Notre Dame is yet to come. BYU 11 with the head-to-head.
Miami 13, Utah 12, BYU 11. BYU, a gigantic game at Cincinnati this week. BYU and Texas. Go ahead.
Sorry. They moved Miami ahead of Vanderbilt because Miami beat NC State and Vanderbilt was off.
Okay.
Which I think is
Bama,
like that.
That's weird.
Dropping teams that don't play is interesting because they did it last week too.
Well, I guess, again, if you reevaluate everybody every week and that NC State win adds to Miami's resume, I think you have to be willing to do that. But it's like, how much does an NC State win really add to Miami's resume? But actually, it's probably their third best win. Because Miami's best wins are probably Notre Dame, South Florida, who is no longer in the rankings because South Florida lost last week, and that shook up the American race, and then NC State.
I'm surprised. I mean, I know they got their doors blown off by Notre Dame, but I'm surprised that Navy wasn't the team they put in there. Navy beat South Florida this week.
Right, instead of Tulane being the American team that slides in. Yeah.
Notre Dame's still at 9. Didn't move.
Notre Dame at 9 didn't move. So the gap is 4 spots between Notre Dame and Miami, which is the gap that matters. Miami is like 13, Notre Dame is 9.
Yeah.
Now,
I sort of feel like everyone above Notre Dame is like in, right?
I mean, without a collapse, unless you like lose twice.
I guess Oklahoma could lose.
So,
yeah.
So Oklahoma up 3 spots with the win over Bama, up from 11 to 8. Bama from 4 to 10 with the loss to Oklahoma. So Alabama 10, Notre Dame 9, Oklahoma 8. But yes, as you look at stuff again, like what you're projecting, if the betting favorites win right now, as it stands, power conference teams, undefeated teams 3, 1-loss teams 6, 2-loss teams 10. So 19 teams with 2 losses or fewer in the power conferences.
Oregon number 7, which I think is interesting because one of the things I was waiting to see was whether or not they were going to put Oklahoma ahead of Oregon.
Okay. Oh, that's good. Well, they don't have like the it's not the top 8 is, or the top 7 is not 2 Big Ten teams, then 5 SEC teams. So that's good.
Right. So this should be Ole Miss 6. Yeah. And then
Ole Miss
Texas
6.
Tech 5.
Ole Miss 6 up 1 spot.
Yeah, my guess would be Texas Tech 5, Georgia 4, and then the top 3.
Then the top 3, as we've had it. Yeah. No, that sounds right. And so, I mean, and you are right on Texas Tech at 5. We're just staring
You're
down. I am ahead of you. They sped me up since they didn't have it. They shut me off for 2.5 weeks. Now they're giving me a 4-second edge on you. We're just staring down 5 SEC teams in the college football playoff. It is.
Yeah.
Unless we get, I think, 2 upsets, unless we get both USC over Oregon and Michigan over Ohio State, that suddenly would put the idea of 5 Big Ten teams in the playoff. I think we have 5 SEC locked in.
What about like an Oklahoma loss? Does that they just get replaced with like Vanderbilt and Missouri? Yeah.
Yeah. So Georgia is 4, up a spot.
Which is actually interesting because, again, just playing around with like a generator of what could happen. Alabama, like, probably still going to go to the SEC title game.
Probably still. Okay.
But they're 6 spots behind the second SEC team in the standings.
Okay.
Like, they're not going to jump. Bama's not going to jump up in the rankings by beating whatever cupcake they play this week and then Auburn.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because like you have playoff committee rankings that you have somebody higher, but a tiebreaker puts somebody else in a conference championship game, and then you automatically reflect, well, you made the conference championship game and lost, let's say,
Right.
to the favored team. Then how does that, do we rank you higher than the team that we had you behind just because the tiebreaker went your way? The one thing that's good about this is they have the brackets up there. We got Oregon by moving up to 7. We got Oregon away from Notre Dame. So if we had been talking about the
Ohio
idea,
State.
do you like the idea of an Oregon Notre Dame 8-9? The winner plays Ohio State. Ohio State beat both those teams last year in the playoff. It would be a great Northern showdown in that Rose Bowl, Notre Dame or Oregon against Ohio State? Or do we want as many Big Ten SEC matchups as possible? And so now we're creating a situation. You're looking at Georgia, Texas Tech as a 4-5, Ohio State, Oklahoma as a 1-8. I'd take Notre Dame in that game, but still, Texas A&M
What a
against the
matchup,
winner.
though. Notre Dame, Oklahoma. That'd be
Yeah,
a heck of a game.
like blue blood. Texas
Yeah.
A&M versus the Ole Miss Miami winner, and then Indiana versus the Bama Oregon winner, right? So on part of that, it's like, well, Indiana and Oregon already played. I don't think that's as fun, but we're getting Oregon Bama in a first round. Like there's a part of me that would kind of like Oregon Bama substantially more than I'd like Oregon Notre Dame. And I like Notre Dame Oklahoma substantially more than I like Notre Dame Oregon. So let's go with that.
Yeah, you like too the opportunity to get Oklahoma and Alabama out of the paint right after the first round.
Yeah. Send them home without their supper. So here's the thing that I think we are really looking at as we examine this, right? I think you're looking at Texas A&M, Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss, and Oklahoma all in the top 8 as 5 SEC teams that are in if they win out. And you would expect them to win out. I still think Georgia has a very good chance to lose to Georgia Tech, but that Georgia would still be in the playoff because they only have one loss, even if they lose to Georgia Tech. So those 5 SEC teams are in very good shape. They're winning, they're in. Ohio State, Indiana, and Oregon, obviously, are in that situation. Number 1, Ohio State. Number 2, Indiana. And number 7, Oregon, are winning, they're in. The Big 12, you're looking probably at one team. Texas Tech is the highest ranked team, the favorite to win the Big 12. And then the ACC, you're looking at one team. Georgia Tech, the favorite, most likely team to win that. So if you have 5 from the SEC, 3 from the Big 10, that's 8. 1 from the Big 12, 1 from the ACC, that's 10. The group of 6 team, that's 11. And then you're down to the last spot probably, Bill. Even though it's like part of this because Notre Dame plays 2 bad teams down the stretch. I think they could fall because Stanford and Syracuse and Stanford, actually in that order, are not going to do them any favors from a schedule standpoint. So even though
they've met their ceiling, that's for sure. Yeah.
Even though Alabama is like behind Notre Dame, I think Alabama might be more secure in its playoff spot right now, actually. And
that's
then
right. Yeah.
I think so, but I think you're probably looking at number 9 Notre Dame, number 13 Miami, and number 14 Vanderbilt for one spot. And then how would you work in BYU or Utah into that conversation? Like the Big 12 title game loser, would they enter that conversation? I like over Notre Dame, like probably not, regardless of what. Like, are they going to jump? Right, so they're not going to jump Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So Notre Dame, but it's just. That's probably the conversation, and maybe you would feel like, well, Notre Dame's in, Doug. What are you talking about? If you're saying Bama is assuredly in, Notre Dame's probably assuredly in. But I just would wonder a little bit, especially Vandy. Like Tennessee stinks, but Tennessee still is like number 20 in the rankings. Vanderbilt plays Tennessee in the last game of the regular season. Would that somehow propel Vandy a little bit as a 2-loss team? Miami plays Pitt, has a shot at Pitt. They're out of the rankings right now, but they're a decent team. Would that propel them over Notre Dame? But I think we probably have 10 spots that are in pretty good shape without huge upsets, and then maybe a 3-way battle for the last spot that Notre Dame's in the lead. But I think the more we go, it's like, I don't know if it's guaranteed.
As we've continued to go through this, it has felt like a slightly less guaranteed. I would still pick it at the moment that Notre Dame does get in. I guess it could come down to sort of like margin of victory, perhaps, and how Miami looks against Pitt. It's weird, like they have the head-to-head, but it's almost like they have to be seen as even for the head-to-head to matter. And like clearly they're not quite there yet. Does the Pitt game get Miami there? Very well could be the case. Because the other thing that's weird about this current projection is that Miami is in like as the ACC representative, even though Miami does not control its own destiny to get to the ACC title game. Right.
Miami is
So
almost 100% not going to make the ACC title game.
right, but I also
Actually.
saw a projection today that had them like as the ACC champ, which
Yeah, I think that was just wrong. I think that was probably a
it's
poorly done projection.
it's possible, but yeah, it would need like I think like Georgia Tech would have to lose its next two games, which I guess it could. It plays Pitt and Georgia, although Georgia doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. They need a lot to fall their way to actually get to the ACC title game.
So for the ACC, we'll just run through it real quick. The ACC, there are 4 one-loss teams right now: Georgia Tech, Virginia, SMU, and Pitt. Georgia Tech and Pitt play each other, so the loser of that is knocked out. Georgia Tech and Virginia control their own destinies, basically. So if Georgia Tech beats Pitt as expected, Virginia only has one more game, and if SMU wins out as well, it's a 3-way tie. Georgia Tech and Virginia would be the two teams in the ACC championship if it was that 3-way tie, and the 3-way tie is what you would expect. The reason this BYU game is so big, BYU beat Utah head-to-head, but if BYU loses to Cincinnati and then Cincinnati wins its final game and like everybody wins out, it would create a 3 or 4-way tie for second place in the Big 12 with Texas Tech as a one-loss team on top. And Utah, I think, would win either the 3-way or 4-way tiebreakers in that scenario. So if it's a head-to-head BYU-Utah tiebreaker, just those two teams, BYU wins it. If it's a group tiebreaker, Utah wins it. If BYU loses to Cincinnati on Saturday, it's at Cincinnati, and Big Noon's going to be there. Utah, I think Utah's in very good shape to make the Big 12 title game. And then Utah lost to Texas Tech. The score was big, but that was a 1-score game in the fourth quarter. And then Utah had trouble running the ball. They played a really weird game. And right when they got it going, their defense collapsed. I actually think Utah could beat Texas Tech in a rematch. I don't think it's impossible. And then you start creating things. Well, then if Texas Tech isn't the Big 12 champ and it's only their second loss, would they get in? And now you're knocking out another team. But anyway, I do think like this ACC stuff, this Big 12 stuff, it's probably Georgia Tech, Virginia in the ACC title game. It's probably Texas Tech versus either BYU or Utah in the Big 12 title game. And probably it's only going to be one from those conferences.
Yeah, I want to tell people about this generator that you and I were talking about. So,
okay,
it's a weird URL, but it is bball.notnothing.net, and you can go through every power conference and just pick your results the next 2 weeks, and then it'll spit out using the tiebreaker formulas like what the actual standings would be. So I did that for the ACC and the Big 12. Just because like I don't know and I didn't want to guess, but I wasn't trying to be funky with it. But what I was left with was a Texas Tech versus Arizona State Big 12 title game and a Virginia versus SMU ACC title game.
Virginia versus SMU?
Yeah.
Based on,
because I have Georgia Tech losing to Pitt.
Oh, you're believing in Pitt this week? Oh, yeah.
Georgia Tech's defense is not stopping anybody. I don't know if you've noticed, but
no,
they almost lost to Boston College, which is like the worst Power 4 team last week.
Yeah, that was like first place versus last place, and last place led for like 58 minutes. Yeah. Okay. No, so that could get real. I mean, I did so North Texas is like the most likely American Conference team at this point. If you look at things, so you're bringing SMU into the conversation. Congratulations to Texas for making the last 2 college football playoff semifinals. That's quite an accomplishment. There's a chance there are 4 Texas teams in the 12-team playoff, and none of them are Texas.
Could you imagine? I wonder
Texas
what
A&M, Texas Tech, North Texas, SMU.
Steve Sarkisian this week got asked about not living up to expectations, and his response was, "Whose expectations?" And it was pointed out to him that they were the number 1 team in the country coming into the season, and he basically said, "Like, well, that wasn't our fault." It's like, okay,
that's good.
Well, have fun saying that, and then have fun if 4 teams from your state make the playoff and you don't.
Did you see Desmond Howard was like walking down his driveway doing a little phone chat and said he thinks there could be a parting of ways, and then the Texas AD like retweeted it? Is that a thing? Should we be doing more like Bill Simmons did a video the other day wearing a t-shirt in a sauna? Do I need to be doing little video things for like our YouTube channel of me in odd places giving sort of like weird takes about college football? Is that what the kids want?
Weird, uninformed, definitely not true takes. Sure. Yeah.
Because honestly, I mean, like we had the whole thing with Ari a couple weeks ago where Ari doesn't wear a shirt in his house. But if I'm going to start doing takes, I'm definitely not wearing a shirt for takes. I would wear a shirt every other moment of the day and then take my shirt off for my driveway take. Because what are we doing, right?
Yeah,
Got to give the people what they want.
That's right.
I think it's pretty straightforward. Like it's borderline straightforward. We understand how it's going to work, but also, would you anticipate? I would anticipate 1 or 2 upsets in the last 2 weekends of the season that would take us away from chalk.
Yes, I think we'll get some of that. It does feel well. I don't know. I mean, Texas A&M still looms, right? That's kind of the only SEC game. Like I know Oklahoma,
but
plays
it doesn't
Missouri,
matter.
But...
Like, do you think Texas has a chance to get in if they beat Texas Tech?
Yeah,
as a 3-loss team, they're currently
A&M. Yeah,
16th. You think
I think they would
jump?
They would rocket back up. Yeah.
You think they could rocket past Notre Dame? They beat Texas A&M and Notre Dame didn't.
Right. I would still guess that they would not make it at 9-3 with that win, but I think that would be all we were talking about if they win that game, and
okay,
whether or not they're going to get in. Yeah.
Okay. Where are you on like this 4 or 5 spot? And people like talking about this, that it's, we're in this situation again where you look at when Ohio State projected number 1 seed, assuming they win out and win the Big Ten championship, which of course nothing is guaranteed, but if they do that, they were looking at Notre Dame or Oregon. Now they'd be looking at Oklahoma or Notre Dame in that spot. Whereas like the 5 seed, you have to play a first round game, but it's at home. You get to play. It didn't work out last year, but most likely this year you get to play the group of 6 team, and then you only have to play the 4 seed next. Like, I think it was good that they got away from, we're going to give the 4 byes to the 4 conference champs. That's not the way I think it should be. But is there still something off about the bracket?
Yeah, but I don't know how you fix it. Like I think we've kind of taken the only step we can, unless you. I don't even know what you would do, because we were talking about this on another show, right? Like if you look at SP Plus, for example, Notre Dame and Oregon are top 5 teams, but they're going to be like the 8 seed and the 11 seed or something like that, right? But I don't know how you take that into account if you're also trying to honor strength of schedule, strength of record, things that have actually happened on the field, right? So yeah, it's a little out of sorts. You could, if you're the 1 seed, very well end up playing a team that is underseeded. But I don't know how they would change it.
Yeah.
Unless you reseed it, which you're not going to do.
I mean, the one thing that, and there were reports out this week that Tony Petitti in the Big Ten won a 2014 playoff. And I don't know, somebody in the Big Ten office, I think, needs to yell at Tony Petitti about a bunch of stuff right now. But supposedly in that reporting that the SEC it does not want 24, but would be interested in 16. It feels like the Big Ten proposal that was reported on, which apparently is 4-4-4-4. So 4 automatic qualifiers for all 4 power conference teams, which is just, it's like people were offended at the idea of 4 for the Big Ten and the SEC and only 2 for the ACC and the Big 12. 4-4-4-4 is more offensive.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sorry. We talked about,
I'm sorry
your conference blew up. I don't even like you're given an automatic spot to Duke or whatever. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So that's more offensive. Here's the one thing. I like 12. The one thing about a 16-team playoff is that group of 5 team, assuming it's not a great group of 5 team, that's who the 1 seed gets in the first round. And you solve some of this stuff. Because the way it works out now is that 4 seed, like that 5 seed, like kind of getting it, you're getting it, no offense. A group of 5 teams is going to beat a 5 seed at one point. But you get a game that it's easy. It's not the 12th best team. It's probably not going to be, right? It's going to be like the 23rd best team. So you're getting an easier game than you should. And then you're like creating a scenario where that path is easier, where the 1 seed's getting that 8-9 that feels like that 8-9 team. Again, it was Ohio State last year, is just this kind of team that is probably like a really good team that took a loss they shouldn't take, right? I do think to get to 16 and get rid of these buys altogether, I'm not saying I'm for it. I think one of the positives about it is you'd smooth out the bracket a little bit in a way that I think would stop the discussion of like, oh, is it actually better to be the 4 or 5 seed than it is to be the 1 seed?
Would the 16-team proposal wouldn't have buys?
No, I assume the 16-team proposal is you just take the buys out. I hope it's not like let's play extra play-in games or whatever.
Know.
So I don't know.
I think that's what FCS does. I don't think FCS
really?
has the buy. I think. Well, no. I think it is a 16-team playoff without buys, but you could also bracket it to where you have buys, and then, but you're kind of just then reintroducing a similar issue to what we have now. I guess you could move the buy matchup to away from the whatever G5 team versus the best power team that didn't get a buy. But I don't know. I'm not. I guess I'm in favor of finding a way to smooth out the bracket, but I'm also not super in favor of expansion. I think 12 is pretty good, even if it's flawed. So I could probably be swayed to 16-24. I agree with you, but the 24, the 4-4-4-24 thing is to get Tony Petitti's playing games, right? Everybody gets extra playing games and extra TV inventory for conference championship weekend. Right.
Well, but he also, it's like he wants the guaranteed 4 spots for the Big Ten at all costs. So he'll give out as many guaranteed spots as he needs to every other conference in the world. He's like, does the Sun Belt want 4 guaranteed spots? I'm fine with that, as long as the Big Ten definitely gets 4. And then, I mean, like, again, I think the 4-4-2-2 is fine. As much as we talked about, we kind of like the getting mad about the North-South Big Ten SEC thing. But like what's playing out right now is exactly why he wants 4 for the Big Ten, because it's like, okay, well, the Big Ten has the 2 best teams right now, and then like another really good team, but the SEC doesn't have any teams as good as the 2 best Big Ten teams, but somehow they're going to get 2 more teams than the Big Ten is. Like, is that really a reflection of the actual strength of the conferences? It's like, well, you're rewarding depth and you get nothing for strength at the top. So I understand why he's doing it, but I think he's flailing, because the first proposal he put out, nobody liked.
Do you think if we're staring down another a playoff where the Big 12 and ACC only get 1, do you think they will join the Petitti coalition?
I would hope. I mean, it's like, but they fancy themselves something that they're not, and they live in La La Land, and so, you know. And then those proposals still have a couple wildcard spots, so you could get 3. But wouldn't the ACC love to be guaranteed 2 right now? Wouldn't Brett Yormark and the Big 12 love to be guaranteed 2 right now? I just don't know why you're. Well, as soon as you accept it, you're accepting second-class status, bro. I don't know. Like, it's already there. I don't know what to tell you. We're not saying that Texas Tech's not good. We think Utah's really good. BYU's good. We're saying your conference isn't as good. So sorry, but 2, you should probably take it. So you're already getting disrespected. So like, again, all the people who say, well, as soon as you put it in writing, you sign your death sentence. It's like, you're in a coma. So it's like, what's the difference between being in a coma and signing your death sentence? It's like, okay, well, like this, you're going to wake up. I don't know. That's a bad analogy, but
well, I think it will help. Correct. Because last year the ACC ended up getting 2. I know the Big 12 didn't, but it would be a little silly, I guess, for them to like accept it based off of 1 season's worth of data points. But if we have 2 now, I think they can go out to the Big 12 and the ACC and just say, the system's against us. We have to take our 2, because clearly they're not going to give us our fair shake with the playoff that just put one each from our respective leagues. And I think that would help them save face a little bit if they don't want to come out publicly now and say, like, please give us 2 spots.
Yeah. Okay. You want to do our projections for the end of the year?
Yeah.
I just was finishing mine up based on what actually happened here, because again, this is what we think is going to happen. So this includes the upsets that we are pondering here. And now I'm not going to go all the way. I really think Utah is live, man. Like, they just need BYU to help them out this week and lose. Right. So Utah fans, I don't think, have to be encouraged to root against BYU. I think Cincinnati's a pretty good team. They just lost to Arizona. They're not perfect. They got their doors blown off when they did play Utah. They have some good wins this year. They lost to Nebraska early in the game that could have gone either way. Certainly at home in Nippert, I think Cincinnati has the ability to beat BYU. And once you do that, you create a scenario for Utah to make a Big 12 championship game and create some chaos with the opportunity to play its best game of the year, beat Texas Tech, and then throw Texas Tech into the pool as an at-large non-champ. And that really has a chance to change things. And my lips to God's ears, like, one of the reasons that I would really sort of be enthused about that is when you start playing this game, as much as I just said, I think Bama's in, maybe even more than Notre Dame, Bama's behind them right now. And I don't know if Auburn is going to be like enough to move Bama up. If we're creating a scenario, are we? We're not quite there, are we? Could we knock Bama out? Can we knock Bama out? No, I guess not. We're not
because they're going to go to the SEC title game.
Right. But we're not knocking them out because they lose in the SEC title game. We're knocking them out because they're the number 10 team right now. And all of a sudden, Utah has vaulted up and we still want to put Texas Tech in. I guess it still wouldn't. You would just be knocking it. No, you would. That's the scenario because it would come down to maybe because if Utah beats Texas Tech or BYU beats Texas Tech, if Texas Tech loses the Big 12 title game, but they're the number 5 team in the country, and everyone's like, I think Texas Tech should still be in, right?
Yeah.
You have now moved that down the discussion, and you are now putting in one of Notre Dame, Bama, Miami, and Vandy. So it's probably Vandy and Miami out, but now we're talking about Bama versus Notre Dame for the last spot. You're saying, well, they would have been in the SEC title game, but they're behind Notre Dame right now. They're one spot behind Notre Dame right now. Bama is not. I can still cash my Bama to not make the playoff bet that I made for $3 at the beginning of the year. I'm creating this scenario to cash that bet.
I don't think it's that far-fetched if you consider that it's just a matter of how much do you want to punish a team for taking an extra loss in the conference title game. But it would just so happen that the loss would be a common opponent with Notre Dame. And Notre Dame lost to that team by a point at home and shouldn't have.
But I guess if they're already behind Notre Dame,
this is in your favor, man. Let me finish.
Oh, okay. It's in my favor. I'm going. Excited.
If Alabama loses to Texas A&M in the SEC title game by whatever more than a score, then like that is a pretty compelling data point in Notre Dame's favor, is it not?
Oh yeah, because Notre Dame got screwed in that game.
Yes.
Oh, I don't know. Did you ask for anything for Christmas yet?
Not yet. No.
Dear Santa, all I want for Christmas is for Alabama to be the first team out of the playoff for the second consecutive year. And then I want Kalen DeBoer to leave for the Penn State job the day after the rankings are announced. Because I'll be the biggest Kalen DeBoer fan in the world if he's in State College, because that's where he belongs. He doesn't belong in Tuscaloosa. Oh, we're breathing this into existence. You put the headline on the show. How far will Alabama fall? The answer is maybe all the way out of the playoff. Thank you, Oklahoma.
I'm glad we got there. Yeah.
Oh, John Mateer and Brent Venables, Northern heroes. Oh, okay. BYU and Utah, make this happen. We need some help from Texas Tech to lose that Big 12 title game. Okay, I'm feeling good about this. Oh, do your rankings. Who you got?
Okay. I have Ohio State 1, A&M 2, Indiana 3.
Yep.
I have Texas Tech 4 because I think that the conference title would bump them ahead of Georgia because I don't think Georgia's going to play in the SEC title game. So then I have Georgia 5. I have Oregon 6 as I still think Oregon can and will jump Ole Miss if it wins out.
I agree with that.
Yeah. I have Ole Miss 7.
Yep.
I have Oklahoma 8, Notre Dame 9.
Yep.
Bama 10.
Yep.
I have Virginia 11 as the ACC champ because, again, I have Georgia Tech losing to Pitt and not getting there.
Okay.
And then, I don't know, spin the wheel for the American Athletic Conference. I have Navy this week.
Okay. You have Navy this week. Okay. We both were riding South Florida for much of the season. I've been riding them straight since week 2, and that's just not going to happen. So, so you have Navy. I actually have North Texas as my 12. So the one wrinkle for me, we're very much in agreement here. The one wrinkle for me, even though you're making very good points about Georgia Tech's defense, is I am still envisioning that Georgia Tech's going to beat Georgia in the last game of the regular season, which obviously does not affect Georgia in the SEC standings, but would propel Georgia Tech up. So I have Ohio State 1, Texas A&M 2, Indiana 3, Texas Tech 4, which is the same as you.
Mm-hmm.
I have Georgia Tech 5 because I have Georgia Tech as the ACC champ who beat Georgia in the last game of the regular season and then won the ACC title with 1 loss. And I actually think that would make them the 5. Like, that's actually a pretty good resume.
11 spots in 2 weeks.
I think Georgia is propulsive. I think the idea of beating the team that is number 4 right now, is like they almost, I think, could beat them and take their spot. It's be such a good win, right? So I understand what you're saying. But also, if you're reevaluating everybody every week, like you shouldn't be beholden to what your rankings were before. And you've got to have them ahead of Georgia. And I have Georgia 6. So I only have Georgia like not they're 4. They lose to a playoff team. They only drop a little bit. They get right. So I have Georgia 6. I have Oregon 7, as you said, ahead of Ole Miss, because I think if they beat USC, that will get them a whole ahead of Ole Miss. Then I have Ole Miss, Oklahoma, just like you, Notre Dame, and then I have Bama in the last spot, 11, before North Texas at 12. Okay. So you and I both have Bama as like that last team in right now from the at-large pool. So then that's what we believe they would be potentially in danger of a Texas Tech non-Big 12 title. Texas Tech, if you feel like if you're putting them in, let's all root for that.
Got to put in a call to Cody Campbell, the money man at Texas Tech. Take the fall in the Big 12 championship.
Is it? I mean, the only call that's more powerful than the Greg Sankey calls that he's been doing all year, making the calls on like, let's make sure we have the right team win these games in the SEC, is Cody Campbell, who basically, I'm not exactly sure. Our good friend John asked about if we were going to discuss the private equity thing with the Big Ten. That is not our plan to talk about that tonight. I'm not 100% sure how business works, but I think maybe Cody Campbell bought college football.
He might be the second most powerful man in college football. Yeah.
So, I mean, if he, I don't even know if he has to make a call. I think the calls come to him and say, Mr. Cody, who's supposed to win this game? And he says, like, for the good of the sport, the Red Raiders have to go down this one time, but it'll be okay. It's for the good of the Big 12 and the good of the sport, and to stick it to Nick Saban in Alabama and Greg Sankey. Down goes Texas Tech. Oh, I'm glad that. Thank you for. I apologize for getting a little hepped up and not realizing the scenario that you were playing out, which only enhances the no Bama and the playoff possibilities. So you just know how I get. I don't have a Bama hat, but if I did, I would put it on ironically right now.
Refresh my memory. Alabama did not make the playoff last year.
I'm gonna have to call Nick Saban and ask him, and ask for a refresher on that. So that would
heck
be
of a thing to expand the playoff field and then not have the preeminent program of the century not make it both years.
But also, I mean, it's one of those things. Like, if you think that the SEC was ready to leave the country and could the SEC just move all of its schools to Saudi Arabia? Would that be an option, that like they just leave America and the SEC stands for the Saudi Arabian Eastern Conference, and they just live there now and they play in the desert, and everybody just rakes in money, and they aren't part of American college football anymore? Because if you think Alabama and the SEC was mad when 9-3 Alabama didn't make it, wait until you see 10-2 Alabama not make the playoff. There's a part of me that's almost scared.
It's really fun to ponder, and I don't think it's totally off base, but I did see one of the comments did make the point about strength of schedule. Alabama's is like significantly better than Notre Dame's. Alabama's 4, Notre Dame's 29th, and not getting any better.
Strength of record. What's the strength of record? Strength of record, Notre Dame's higher than that. They're 12th. Alabama's higher. So I mean, like, it's like, I don't know, but again, it's so this is one of those where we're saying, like, I think all of that's true. But so Bama plays Auburn, and they play a middle school team this week, right?
Yeah.
They play Pickerington Middle School, I think they play.
Eastern Illinois.
Pickerington Middle School would actually give Bama all they could handle, because there's like 4 future Ohio State players on that team right now. I also understand Pickerington probably has more than one middle school, but I think they would allow the middle schools to consolidate for the Alabama game. It could be an all-star team.
Pickering Middle School all-star team.
Yeah, Pickering Middle School all-star team, which would include like Jack Sawyer, right? Sonny Styles, right? Yep. Jake Butt, right? Think about that all-star team. You don't think 8th grade Sonny Styles, Jack Sawyer, and Jake Butt could beat Alabama? You are sorely mistaken, my friend. Eastern Illinois and Auburn. Notre Dame plays Syracuse and Stanford. So what is it about any of those teams that like the commenter is exactly right? There are metrics that you could look at to say, well, Alabama should be ranked ahead of Notre Dame. But is there anything in the last 2 weeks of the regular season that would cause a change? And right now, Notre Dame's one spot ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Like if that is what they are going by, why isn't Alabama ahead of Notre Dame right now?
Correct. Yeah,
And
it's
then,
just, well, we know, but we also know that they, whatever, to create their desired playoff field and then reverse engineer the rankings after the fact because it's a clean slate every week.
I know, but also like if they do that, if that's what happens, this magical scenario, Santa, this magical scenario that we are outlining, if it results in Notre Dame being ahead of Alabama and suddenly beating Auburn and beating Eastern Illinois moves them ahead of a team that beat Syracuse and Stanford, touchdown Jesus is coming right off that wall and he's walking to Tuscaloosa. Like, what are we talking about? Like, we think you don't want to see Tuscaloosa and Greg Sankey mad? You want to see the Golden Dome mad about this? Like, what would your rationale be? Because here's the actual rationale. Like, for real, if the reason they did it, it would be because right now they didn't think it mattered. Notre Dame, Alabama. They didn't actually spend that much time on it. And then if it becomes the preeminent discussion of the playoff era to this point, Notre Dame versus Alabama, each with 2 losses for the last spot in the playoff, it will become the most important decision this playoff committee has ever made. And we understand all the TCU, Baylor, Ohio State, like we understand Florida State, Alabama, all this. Mm-hmm. I think this would be potentially even bigger. And the only reason that they would move it is because, oh, now it matters. So now we actually thought about it, right?
What if they're given an out by, like, say, like USC, like gets its butt kicked by Oregon, and then suddenly Notre Dame's best win does not look as good?
Fair. What if what's Alabama's best win? What if Georgia gets its doors blown off by Georgia Tech, right? Yeah. And that's Alabama's best win. And then it's like, okay, I don't know. Like Gunnar Stockton, is he even good? So, I mean, like so maybe there would be an out, and all those things matter. Context matters. But if the context is pretty equal, it's like, why'd you switch? Greg Sankey on one line, touchdown Jesus on the other.
Yeah.
Those are 2 big dogs, man. I don't know what to tell you. So
Cody Campbell's bigger than both of them.
Yeah. And then Cody Campbell walks in the room. I kind of want to write a play now about this, right? One of those black box plays. And the only 3 characters are Greg Sankey, touchdown Jesus, and Cody Campbell. And I call it the death of college football. And there's a character in the play that is like, it's one of those where you don't realize he's a character in the play because he sits in the front row, but it is an actor in the show. And it's Tony Petiti. And he just like constantly is like standing up and tripping over his feet and like trying to get on the stage, and they push him off the stage, right? And he's shouting out suggestions from the audience that nobody listens to. But really it's about touchdown Jesus, Greg Sankey, and Cody Campbell. All right, it's too long. I'm gonna miss it. Once we just get to 8 automatic qualifiers for each conference for a 64-team college football playoff, I'm going to miss these discussions, Bill.
Yeah, me too. But won't it be fun talking about who gets to play in Dayton for the first 4?
Oh, man. Yeah, that will be good. Mississippi State versus Minnesota in a 61 versus 65 matchup for the play-in of the play-in at a Dayton high school football stadium. Oh my God. Thanks, Tony. All right. That's it. We'll see. We have a bunch of other stuff coming this week. We're working on some offensive line stuff. We might do an offensive line Ohio State podcast. We're going to have our Ohio State Rutgers picks on Thursday. We'll have national picks on Friday where we'll dive into USC Oregon, right? A little bit more, because that is like obviously a huge game in the Big Ten this week. And then we'll just keep doing what we do here, Bill. And if you guys want to come find us writing and potting for subscribers about Ohio State, Bill and Doug, OSU.substack.com. And if you're looking for some fine apparel, Roback.com, RHOBACK.com. If you watch the show, you know the deal. 20% off your first order. Bad 20. We're getting to the holiday season. Might be time to start looking. I mean, like I'm starting in a little bit of panic mode, Bill. Not quite panic mode, but I keep thinking I'm going to get ahead on my shopping, and then I don't. So go to Roback.com.
Great spot to do your holiday shopping. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? You good?
No, just can't wait to go watch more college basketball.
Because why wouldn't we put a thing that is a determining factor in the number 2 sport in America at halftime of a preseason game that has no actual effect on what's going to happen in college basketball this year because they only have 6 more months of college basketball. Why wouldn't we treat college football that way? Dear YouTube, please shut off my ESPN. My life was better the old way. Thanks to you guys for being here. Thanks for hanging. I would say we hang with you. You don't hang with us because you're the college football fans who make all this possible. And so for us to get to hang out with you and talk a little ball is a great privilege. And we never forget that. So appreciate you being here. Those are the playoff rankings. OSU 1, Indiana 2, Texas A&M 3, Georgia 4, Texas Tech 5, Ole Miss 6, Oregon 7, Oklahoma 8, Notre Dame 9, Bama 10 in the death spot. For now, he's Bill Landis. I'm Doug Lesmerises, and that was the Bill and Doug Show.